Moving to another country is difficult enough, but it's even more challenging when you have to do it by yourself. Today, we're going to give you some tips to help you survive living abroad alone. Hola, this is Alex. Welcome to my vlog where I talk about awesome things to see and do in Madrid and the rest of Spain, and about living abroad in general. If you haven't yet, do consider subscribing and clicking on that notification bell so that you know exactly when I upload the next episode. Living abroad by yourself can be hard, but there are some ways that you can make it easier and even enjoyable. Today I have a special guest, my first friend in Madrid, Brooks, who's here to help me share these tips with you. So we adjusted to Madrid life pretty quickly, don't you think? Considering that we didn't know a soul when we got here.
Yeah, definitely. Especially considering the fact that we met only a few days after arriving in Madrid, and we were so lucky to become fast friends because I think it made the transition to life abroad so much easier for both of us.
Yes, that's for sure.
Yeah. So we know that not everyone is as lucky as we are to find their best friend in the first few days living abroad. So we want to share with you some tips on how you can survive the transition to life abroad alone. So our first tip for you is to bring some comforts from home with you abroad. So for me, I brought some photos of family and friends, which always made me more at home and more comfortable. And I also brought a few books with me that are very dear to me and also made me feel at home. And I also brought a blanket that is just really nice and soft and just always makes me feel comfortable.
And on my end, I brought some recipes from home, some from my friends, and some from my mom, because I knew I would miss my mom's cooking because she's such a great cook. Of course, I could never cook as well as she does. And I remember you have some playlists from home, right?
Yes, I made some playlists on Spotify for music from my college days, music from my high school days as well, and also just some other fun music that I used to listen to back in the US that always makes me feel at home. Also, bring with you traditions from home, whether they be family traditions, religious traditions, holidays. We have celebrated Thanksgiving every year since moving here. It's something that always made me feel closer to home, and we were able to put some interesting spins on some recipes that are traditionally American, but we made it our own, and that has always been something that makes me really happy.
Our next tip is try to speak the local language as best as you can. Sometimes we get lazy, sometimes we're afraid, but I think it's super important to speak in the local language, at least try to. Like
Yes.
basic phrases like hello, like how to order bread or rice or whatever you
There are
want.
some apps for the phone such as Memorize, Duolingo, Hello Talk that I think are wonderful apps when learning a new language.
And also like try to be friends with locals or at least like with the people around in your neighborhood.
And the third tip is to try to integrate with the local culture. Try the food,
For sure, for
learn
sure.
how to cook local recipes, and adjust to meal times as well. I know for both of us, moving to Spain was a bit of a challenge at first
Yes.
because meal times are much later here.
Yes.
Lunch is typically around 2 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and dinner is never before 8.
Yes, it's at 10. So it's like
Right.
super, super late.
It's very late. Also, punctuality may be different in the country you are moving to. Something very different here. People may say that they will arrive somewhere at 2 p.m. They really mean 2:20, maybe
Yes, yes.
2:30. So be patient. Always try to understand that maybe the definition of punctuality is a bit different in the country you're moving to.
Try to get used to the local customs as well. For example, the way people greet each other. Because here the Spanish people greet each other with two kisses on the cheek, something that I wasn't used to before, but now I always do. So as long as I guess it's not offensive to you, then try and integrate yourself by practicing local customs.
Yes, and on top of that, try to avoid comparing your country, your home country, to the new country where you're living. Just embrace the new culture, customs, and go with it.
Yeah, because of course there will be some aspects that are worse, some aspects that are better. But if you're staying in your new country, either it's your choice in which case you have to adjust, or it's not a choice, in which case you still have to adjust.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
Next, don't forget to practice self-care. It's very important to take care of your body, particularly. Sometimes we forget, like you have to eat healthily, you have to exercise when you can, and if you're getting stressed, maybe learn to meditate, go to the doctor if you need to, go to the dentist. It's very easy to be lazy about these things. But if we're healthy in our body, then it's also easier to be healthy in our mind.
Build networks in your new country. Make friends. Join clubs or organizations, whether they are social clubs or athletic clubs. And Facebook groups are also a great way to meet new people that may also be expats in your new country or city. And also using apps for language exchanges, for example, are great. A great way to meet new people. Also practice the language, which we said was important. And most importantly, just try not to isolate yourself.
Having said that, it's also important to learn to love your own company, because sometimes that's really all you're gonna have. So try to get used to being alone and learn to like it. Like learn to eat alone and try to keep busy. That's how you fill the time you have on your own. Like you can take walks, you can read books, try to read books in the local language. But in general, just learn to enjoy me time.
Next, explore your new city or country. Find new non-touristy areas to the extent that you can, and always being safe.
Yes, of
Which
course.
streets and maybe alleys you go down, but finding these sort of areas is a really nice way to learn how the locals live. Going to museums, concerts, any free activities that maybe are being put on in the city are also a great way to mix in with the locals and learn more about the city. And be sure to take public transportation if that's something that's available in your city. The bus, the subway system, all of these things are a great way to learn how you get around and how locals get around.
Try to stay in touch with the people you care about in the same way that you did when you were back home. So I want to explain this a little bit more. So for example, I have these friends, Zara, Anju, and Anton. We used to have happy hours on Fridays back when we were in Manila, or at least Zara and I. So that is a practice that we still continue to do. We would still have happy hour on Skype. So we would be, sharing a glass of wine online, and it felt like it was a normal thing that we used to do, and we still did it here, while I was here, so that it didn't make me feel like I was out, I had no FOMO. I was still
Right.
part of what was going on with my other friends. It
Right.
felt more normal. And also, it's also important to have a schedule to call your loved ones. For example, don't just call them when you're lonely or when you're feeling needy. Set a schedule. Talk to them on Sundays with these friends. Talk to some members of your family on Fridays. Having a regular schedule makes you feel in touch with the people that you love, and that will make you less homesick for sure.
Next, and very importantly, is being financially prudent to lessen your stress while living abroad. So living within your means, making a budget, whether it be monthly, weekly, whatever works best for you, and monitoring your expenses. Also, I think it's very important to open a bank account as soon as you can once you get to your new country, and make sure you put a bit of money aside for emergencies.
Yes, I think people sometimes, myself included, we forget in the excitement of arriving in the new country, you want to do this, you want to do that, and you end up spending more than you should. So I think it's very important to try to control that part of your life, because it really is so stressful when you know,
Yes.
oh my gosh, my money's running out. So avoid that stress. And another tip we have is find your happy place in your new city, or it could be the countryside too. But find your happy place wherever you're going to be living in. For us, for example, one place would be Retiro Park. It's free to go to, but we associate it with happy things. Like we watch people, we watch the dogs, there's so many dogs running around. And then what else do we do in Retiro Park?
We also love playing Pokemon Go in Retiro Park, there are always really fun Pokemon to find in the grassy areas.
So whenever we feel, a little bit down, then we go to Retiro Park. But it could also be other places. It could be like a plaza, like Plaza España. It could be a cafe. So just make sure that you have this comforting place in your new place of residence so that there's literally a place you can run to when you're feeling a bit down.
Don't forget to monitor your emotions. So when moving to a new country, there are tons of new emotions, new stressors that may make you sad, and it's okay. That's completely normal when moving to a new place. Act on them, however, if you're feeling sad. Be your own cheerleader.
Yes, yes.
Do some of the things that we have mentioned before to make yourself feel better, and always try to acknowledge and appreciate when you're feeling happy.
Yes, I think that's the reverse side of it. Like, monitor when you are sad so that you can do something about it. But at the same time, celebrate the small things. When you're sitting somewhere and like, oh, I'm happy here. Then acknowledge and appreciate that.
Right.
And this other thing that I think is super important, but a lot of people don't have or don't prepare for, is to have an emergency procedure. I think we didn't have this until like maybe a year into our stay here.
Yeah.
But it's very important to know like the emergency numbers in the country where you're living, know the closest police station, where is the hospital, what is the number of the hospital, where can you find a 24-hour pharmacy. Write all these down. It's very important. Like, you take it for granted. Oh, life is great. I'm never gonna get sick. Nothing bad's gonna happen. But things do happen. So it's good to be ready.
And having an emergency contact person, not only in your country, but also back home. So we had each other here in Madrid, and have each other here in Madrid. And we would carry around a card with each other's name on it, telephone number. So if anything ever happens, someone who finds us or
Whatever happens,
they can call the other person. And we also have a contact person for emergency back home. So you have the contact of my mother, and I have the contact of your older sister. So if anything were to ever happen, we can get in contact with those people and relay any pertinent information. Also, very important to stay in constant contact with your close friends in your new city or country. We do not live together, so it's very important that we get in contact with each other every day to make sure the other one is okay. So if there's ever a 24-hour period where we don't hear from the other person, we are banging the other one's door down, finding out what's going on and making sure they're okay.
And alive.
Yes. Do share any tips that you have on living abroad in the comment section below.
And do let us know if any of these tips help you. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time. Until then, ciao,
Ciao,
chicos!
chicos!